God. I don't even know how to begin, Henry. It is October, and that means I'm worried about all the spooky shit.
Lots of spooky shit. I think
Let's go through the list.
Favorite month for podcasting, at least. It may be with the exception of December. I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong.
What are the spookiest shits?
The spookiest shits. Well, certainly bowel related.
No. I meant like, here's an example.
Okay.
Mummies.
Yeah, mummies, vampires, werewolves.
Well, that's apropos, Henry. You should have saved that for a transition.
Yeah.
All right, well, maybe we'll transition now.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, we're talking about werewolves today, specifically.
Yeah, we are. We are. Welcome to episode 277.
You're like, you're like autistic with that or something. Like if
have to get it in
you
there.
you do. Like it's almost like a challenge for me to keep it going as long as, because I can see you're uncomfortable this whole time.
I'm going to forget, and we have someone who keeps the website going, and the only track to keep the episodes right is me.
You know, by the way, that website, Shut Up Tim reminded me this week, you can access it by just clicking thefranchisepod.com.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you don't need to fuck around with all that Wix site bullshit.
All right. I don't know that it was like that before. All
well,
right.
Shut Up Tim purchased the URL there.
Oh, does he own us now? Is that what that means?
I think he's trying to get a stake somehow.
Oh, he wants a stock share.
I don't think he understands that we don't make any money from this, but like, you know, maybe someday we will.
Oh, okay. So when we hit it big, he wants to be cut in on that money. Is that what
he's trying to hitch his shut up wagon to our rising ride?
Well, a lot of people want to do that. I understand.
For sure. All right, so I'll tell you in what context we're talking about werewolves today. You could probably guess from looking at the title of the episode, but I'll tell you explicitly that we're covering An American Werewolf in London and An American Werewolf in Paris. An American Werewolf in London, of course, a classic from 1981, considered by many to be a classic film by director, writer, and serial murderer John Landis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Directly caused the deaths of multiple human beings, including two children.
For more on that, read Dan's letterboxd review of An American Werewolf in London.
All I said was that his body count's almost as large as the werewolf. And if you watch An American Werewolf in London, the werewolf only ultimately kills like 6 people.
True.
Landis has killed 3 that we know of.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, he's nearly there.
And in all fairness to the wolf,
make a fucking sequel to the Twilight Zone movie, and he'd get this guy matched up.
Yeah, he'd gut them all. And in deference and fairness to the wolf, it's not really the wolf's fault. He's not really thinking. He's not in his right mind.
No, it's more the curse.
Yeah. It's the altered reality that is his mental state. Yeah. A movie I've never seen.
Yeah, this is a first-time watch, a first-time classic watch for Henry. What'd you think? Give us some early thoughts.
Okay. I was disappointed.
Oh, okay.
It did not live up to the hype I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Is
this going to be a John Pandis?
No. You're gonna be spending some time probably not enjoying this because you don't want to defend John Landis at any point in your career as a podcaster. But I'm going to
career.
need. I'm going to be. I'm going to be. Have you're gonna have to explain to me why this is such a classic. Even though I can, I know why special effects wise.
Well, that's
There's
largely why.
That's what I figured. One of the main problems of the movie, right off the bat, I'll just say it because it's important. This David Naughton, I believe his name
How
is.
dare you?
He is so bad,
He is not. That is a wild opinion, Henry.
and it was so distracting for me to look. And I just kept wishing that Griffin Dunn had been in that role.
You wanted them to switch. Well, they are sort of interchangeable.
But Griffin Dunn's like an actor.
They're both actors.
Oh, come on. This guy just, I don't know. There was a part of it that was also pacing and the script, especially in the beginning, their kind of dialogue together as friends. It was like so unnatural.
I totally disagree. I think it's natural sounding.
Well, it's all, but it's not just that. I was going to get to the second part of that criticism was also, I think it's the pacing. I think Landis it's kind of, what is this, his like second film or third film?
I mean, he'd made like a bunch of schlocky ones. One of them is called Schlock. But like, in terms of like Hollywood movies, yeah, this is his follow-up to Animal House, I guess.
Right. So like his pacing in some of the shots.
Oh no, he'd done Blues Brothers too.
That I knew. I knew he did Blues Brothers, but that was more. It's so busy. It's so busy. Everything happening in that movie that's more almost like a fucking action movie. But like the pacing between like lines is just, it's so odd. It's just kind of like they say something and then you wait and then the camera lingers and then they cut to another scene. It's a strangely edited film. I did like a lot. I liked every other actor in the movie. Everybody else.
I don't know what your beef is with this Naughton fella. Are you familiar with his brother?
Who's his brother?
There's a John Naughton out there.
And what's he doing for a living?
He's still working. Both of them are. These Naughtons have been around in these movies for decades.
I have something to say about it.
I don't know.
He's just sort of charismaless and just kind of his like overacting and emoting, and like all he's doing, like the whole time he's around the lovely, elegant, and graceful Jenny Gutter, who's very good.
Get your mind out of your gutter.
No. Jenny, my gutter. He's just. I don't know. He's just not good, man. His
I think he's good.
He looks like a silent movie star where he's just constantly.
What's wrong with that?
Constantly like mugging, and when he's speaking to himself, it's just really doesn't work. And,
I see him as like a Judge Reinhold, you know, a boy next door.
Yeah, Judge Reinhold.
Yeah,
Judge Reinhold would have been better.
A Timothy Hutton.
That would have been a good.
Well, of course that would have been good for him. But would you have preferred the studio's original choices?
Who were they?
The studio, because they were worried about this movie not getting boffo enough BO, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Big enough box office. Yeah. They wanted him to just flat out put Aykroyd and Belushi here. He's going to have Aykroyd in the Naughton role. Yeah, Belushi's going to die after like 15 minutes and then come back as a ghost or whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't have cared for that.
No, that would have been annoying.
Yeah. But I think it's just... I think it's a decent movie. I just don't think it's great. And I mean, besides the special effects, I mean, the story just kind of moves very, very slowly. There's some very funny sequences. There's some very good things. I like the early part. Well, we're going to get in the movie, so I'm going to start talking about plot points.
I'll just say straight up, I'm coming at this as I think this is a masterpiece. I think this is Landis's best movie by a long shot.
I don't think it's even close to that.
And
It's not even close to Trading Places or Coming to America. It's not even close.
Better. It's better than both of them. It's hard. Look, it's a different genre, but like
right.
I do like. There's nothing objectionable to me in this movie. Like I like every moment of this movie.
Yeah, when I don't know if you've done it now, probably not, and won't matter by the time this airs. But if you had taken away your starred review until we review it, but you gave it 5 stars. Before.
No, that was from like ages ago though.
Yeah, okay. And I was just really interested. Because it just doesn't seem to me like a movie that you would, not that you wouldn't like it, but it doesn't seem to me a movie you would think is a masterpiece like a lot of other people would. Like
it's the vibe, it's the tone. I like living in the movie.
Okay.
All right, let me get into it. So, both of these movies have interesting backstories, Henry, which you love to get on a show like this.
Yes, that's why people tune in, including me.
Yeah. So, John Landis apparently wrote the first draft of this movie in 1969 on the set of Kelly's Heroes. He was working as like a production assistant on Kelly's Heroes.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were driving around and they saw some like gypsy ceremony, and it gave him this idea for some reason.
These white guys with these gypsy.
I know. So
King.
So they he puts it in a drawer or whatever, and then he does Schlock, he does Kentucky Fried Movie, and his star's on the rise. He does Animal House and Blues Brothers, and then he could basically get what he wants to be made done. And so he brings this into the studio. They say, fine, we're not going to give you Blues Brothers money for this, but here's $5.8 million.
Okay. All right.
He says, great. They say, we'll give you more if you put it in Aykroyd and Belushi. He says, no, I can do it for 5.8.
So he chose to not
yes.
put them. Interesting. I thought you were going to tell me that was a studio decision or something. Like, get this guy not. Yeah.
Studio wanted Aykroyd and Belushi.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Interestingly, the movie ends up coming in at number 23 for the box office for that year, making just a tad more than the number 24 movie Neighbors, starring Dan Aykroyd, and John Belushi.
Oh.
So like they fucking wanted them for this movie, and he didn't, and it didn't matter. Ultimately, both things did the exact same amount.
That's funny. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. All right. The film finally comes out August 21st, 1981, and it made $62 million worldwide. It's a hit.
Yeah.
Made a little less than Endless Love. But what can you do? What can you do? Nominated for a few awards there. How about an Oscar? Nominated for a fucking Oscar.
Oh, I didn't know that, but I bet I know what for. Here we go.
Oscars, it's the red carpet, it's the red carpet and the gowns and the tuxes. The Oscars, it's the big night for Hollywood, the red carpet and the golden man.
Head banging to your own theme song.
Sure.
All right. Well, 1982 they did the first ever Oscar for Best Makeup.
That's the first year?
Can you fucking believe that?
That's nuts. That means they missed all the Bela Lugosi things and all the anything.
All that shit.
Planet of the Apes.
That shit. Well, they might have, they used to give out like special Oscars.
Yeah, they had. That's crazy to me. That makes no sense.
Yeah. So this holds the honor of being the winner of the first Oscar for Best Makeup. Rick Baker.
The famous Rick Baker. So wow, this has won an Oscar. All right. Well, if for anything, I mean, yeah.
Also, of course, this movie was a factor at the Saturn Awards.
Oh, that makes sense. All right.
Saturn is between Uranus and Neptune. Saturn, whoa, sci-fi best of films.
Were you going to say something? You are really enjoying your own work today.
No, I'm just... Sometimes my mind, when I'm listening to these things, it's so stupid.
Hey, by the way, NASA...
So dumb.
NASA this week released a new photograph of Neptune.
Oh!
Yeah.
That's neat.
And what an amazing looking planet it is, Henry.
Oh, it's the big blue god with the Triton.
Yeah, it is big and blue.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, anyway.
Listen to Holst's The Planets, Neptune. Great.
It is great, Henry. What a great movement.
It is. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, well, this was nominated for 4 Saturn Awards, the only award for genre films exclusively.
Right.
It won 2 of them for Best Horror Film of the Year and also Best Makeup, obviously.
Sure.
The other nominations were your friend Jenny Agutter, who was nominated for the Best Actress of the Year. And she lost to Karen Allen for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
And John Landis was nominated for his writing of this film. And he lost to Lawrence Kasdan, also for Raiders.
Well, that makes sense to me.
To me, too. I mean, Raiders
All right.
is better than this. What do you want me to say?
No, nothing. I'm trying to gauge your respect for this flick.
I have full respect.
Yeah.
I'm on a 100% container of respect.
Yeah. You're standing. If you were at the Container Store, you would be. Is that still around?
Yeah, that exists.
Right.
TCS.
Did they? Okay, then tell me they didn't change it to just TCS.
I don't think officially, but a lot of their ads they say TCS.
Yeah, fuck. You know what? I can say all the time I lived in New York. Never went in one.
Really? I did. I've been to
Never
a
needed a
container
container.
store. Well, I don't think I ever did either, but I think I wandered around. I was lured by that name. What the fuck goes on in a container store? And then you go in there and you walk around. You're like, you know what? There are more containers out there than you think.
Yeah, I bet you there's all kinds of containers. Did you yourself feel contained when you were in the store, or were you worried about becoming contained?
No, I will say the atmosphere in there was good.
Atmosphere.
Yeah. Like, I walked around probably longer than I needed to, even. Just because I liked it in there.
Wow. Container store.
TCS.
Man, that's a fucking entrepreneurial fucking Shark Tank genius right there, man.
I know.
That's his fucking idea.
Full respect to the Shark Tank geniuses out there.
Jesus.
All the Shark Tanks. All the sharks. Cuban.
I
Damon John. Barbara. All right? Lori Grenier. Robert Herjavec, that one guy from Pop Chips, Alex Rodriguez sometimes, Jeff Foxworthy in the early years, all the sharks.
Pop Chips suck.
I love Pop Chips.
Not a fan.
Oh, I'll eat a fucking Pop Chip right now. Sour
I'll
cream
eat
and
popcorn or
onion.
a chip.
What?
I'll eat popcorn or I'll eat a chip.
It's a chip.
I don't want a chip with air in it.
All right. That's fair enough, Henry. All right, let's talk about the film, shall we?
Oh, is that it for the awards?
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Right.
That's and that takes us into the movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So, it is slow, Henry. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, the beginning was kind of my voice just really went up like a beginning.
All right, enough.
The beginning was actually, I thought, one of the best parts of the movie when they're just sort of in the moors and they're going to that pub. Yeah,
they're in the moors. They're walking through the moors.
Go to the moors. You can always go to the island of Lesbos. Come, Mr. Bond. You know you enjoy a werewolf movie as much as I.
Good callback. Come, Mr. Bond. All right. So it's, what are they? David and Jack. Those are our men. And
David Kessler and Jack Goodman.
Oh, you got that right there. All right. Yeah. So they're in the moors in England or what have you.
The north of England.
Yeah. The north. And they're wandering about, and it's looking like a rough night. They see a pub. All right. They stop in. First they're actually they get dropped off by that sheep cart.
Yes,
I love that.
All that stuff was good.
Yeah. Blue Moon is playing, which is, boy, if there is one thing, this movie, you never realized how many songs are about moons before.
There's a lot of songs about moons.
And they're all here in this movie.
Yeah, they are. And I didn't mind the version that they opened with. It wasn't the one that I don't like, the 50s nonsense. It was more of like a slower, I believe.
I like the 50s version fine.
I know you do. That's one of your favorite periods of American music, not mine, for that type of music. Best moon song in the movie was obviously Bad Moon Rising, obviously.
I agree that's the best moon song in the movie, but the best moon song sequence in the movie is when they fuck in the shower to moon dance.
That's a good sequence. I forgot what the dance was playing, yeah. They give the songs a lot of playing time once they start.
Oh my god, Bad Moon Rising, like it's a full montage.
Yeah, man, it's like a whole fucking solo in there. I was like, geez, they're really going to play the whole song. All right, why not?
John Landis knows to give time to artists that are greater than himself.
Yeah, and to take away any part of dialogue that's not going to be good to begin with.
It's all good dialogue in this movie. Listen, I actually think the dialogue between them, they get off that sheep truck, and David Naughton, I think or maybe it's Griffin Dunn. He starts patting the sheep, and he goes, "Thanks again, gonna miss you."
Yeah, that's cute.
That's funny.
That's cute.
And,
it's cute.
So they start wandering. The camera's just following along with them. It's real natural, setting the scene. The moors are spooky. It's starting to get dark and foggy, and they see the slaughtered lamb.
Yeah.
And that's the pub. They stop in. It's one of these spooky movie pubs where it's like, what are these strangers doing in here?
Yeah, that was a good moment. It's the usual. The stranger walks into the pub and everything stops, In this case, there's no jukebox, but all the convo stops and the dart playing stops. And we're treated to a guy I knew. And that was, I think his name's Brian Glover. I'd have to look at it again, but he's the bald chess player.
Brian Glover.
Recognize him from Alien 3 as the warden?
No, I never would have gotten that.
Yeah, I was like, I know that fucking guy. That can't be him. And then I was like, of course it could. It's only 10 years before. Yeah.
I don't recognize anybody in this movie. Like, there's this movie full of like Frank Oz showed up for a second. I was like, oh, that's Frank Oz.
Yeah, well, I knew he was going to be in it, but he was bad.
Whatever.
He was really bad, dude. That was like,
I don't know that you get the tone of this thing.
I don't know that. Here's the thing. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Right. I'm well aware of that. I just think that the tone shifts awkwardly from comedy to trying to be a little bit scary, not scary like onto the covers, scary high on the covers, but like
eerie.
eerie, yeah, and I just never felt that, which is fine, but it just I was not consistent in what I thought it was going to be like. I felt like every scene where David Naughton wasn't in and was building up a much more serious tone, and then when he would return, it would go back to
not necessarily though. There's that one scene where the psychotherapist guy goes to the slaughtered lamb to sort of see if David Naughton's story checks out.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah, but like that's not like a super serious scene. Like that's goofball. He goes in there acting like galumphing around, and then like he sort of slowly realizes that like something is amiss.
But I thought it was very tense because like you don't know what they're going to do, and then when he's heading back to his car and the one guy standing with the umbrella. And
I
it's
think
like
you just had a problem with Naughton. Like I feel that tone is achieved in his scenes just as much.
I did not. I never felt any real worry for his character at all because he just seems to be taking it all like a big joke, and it even though it has those cool scenes with like Griffin.
I think it's realistic though. Like. The way he's taking it,
it's not realistic.
No, I do. It's sort of a slow realization where like the seriousness, the gravity of the situation. He doesn't really understand it until the very, very end.
Well, that's when the movies, I think, probably besides the beginning and the end, are the best parts of the movie. But I knew all about the tone going in, and so I was prepared for it. I just didn't think I really don't blame Naughton much for that. I blame more Landis because I just don't know that he's the best at handling. Like, look, for example, pick fucking his Twilight Zone part. Segment.
But that's trash. I think his section is garbage. For some reason, I'm not a big Landis guy. I think this movie, he's just firing on all cylinders. Like, this is the movie I think John Landis was born to make.
Yeah, and I just don't. I like him when he just does straight up comedy. I feel like he's awkward staging and directing the other parts of the movie, you know? And I guess because of that, it's like sort of a combo of Landis's awkwardness with a little bit of a horror genre and his propensity to prefer to go to comedy. It just didn't feel like someone who knew how to straddle those things, those two genres together. You know?
Anyway,
you know what I mean? No.
Yeah, I just disagree.
Right. No, I know. I'm just like, because I'm trying to think of like directors who do that shit very, very, very well, who like go into the sort of comedic / horror thing and are able to like go in and out.
I don't know that it's ever fully leaning far enough in the direction of horror. Like, to me, it's more like an Edgar Wright kind of a thing where like it's paying service to a genre, but essentially it's a comedy. Yeah.
I mean, the Griffin Dunne stuff when he comes back from the dead, I mean, that's all good. It's funny. It's a very I did appreciate this. And I wasn't expecting this at all. It's a very muted movie.
Yeah.
And I like that.
It's real subtle.
Like, yeah, it is. Like they're besides the pop songs, there's not a lot of score going on. Scenes are allowed to just kind of have characters talking with nothing else happening. I mean, even and there's some. It's impossible not to think it's hysterical when it's just so 80s or late 70s, and they're like literally have no problem staging a scene in a fucking porno theater and just showing you what's on screen. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh my god! But the porno. I assume they shot the porno specifically for this movie because it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's great.
The lines in the porno are so fucking funny.
Yeah, they're really funny. Yeah.
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
a guy comes and like, did you order something or like to start a threesome? And they just say no, and he goes, oh, I guess I have the wrong place, and he just leaves or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, he comes in and he's like, I told you not to ever be with him again. And he's like, I've never seen you in my life.
Oh
And she
yeah,
goes, who you are? And then he goes, oh, I'm sorry, wrong room.
that. Yeah, there's something so absurd about that.
Because like these people are in this porno theater to watch a porno, and it like actually stops the sex action to like have a little interchange in between.
But forget it, like that happens in porn all the time. But like that
No,
interchange was such a bizarre sort of weird moment of anti-comedy in the middle of this movie.
I would definitely say once they get going, they usually stick to business in pornography.
Henry, I think I've watched more than you.
I think you're probably right.
I'm not proud of it, but I think I have.
It's fine. Yeah. Okay.
Hilarious porn. That was one of my notes.
It was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. So continue.
Well, anyway, yeah. So the drunken pig, or what's the slaughtered lamb? Sorry. They send them away, and they say like, stick to the roads, don't go on the moors, and of course they start talking about that, and then they realize, oh fuck, we're not on the roads, and they start hearing howling. I genuinely thought that was spooky. Like the sound design of that scene was well done. And then they get attacked by a wolf who is promptly shot by a townsperson, but after killing Griffin Dunn. And and Naughton looks over, and it's not a wolf, it's a man. The basic werewolf setup.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So then we cut forward. It's he's in a hospital, and he finds out it's been 3 weeks. He's been unconscious for 3 weeks. Now, I think this was just John Landis going like, well, it's got to be for the transformation to happen again. We need it to be a month later, and I don't want to deal with these characters for a month. So I'll just put him unconscious for 3 weeks and then wake him up.
Good point. That's probably it. Yeah.
And I think it's a good storytelling decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could go in a coma for 3 weeks. Can you imagine how nice that would be?
I wish I could go in a coma for years. Wouldn't that be the dream?
Yeah.
You could probably wake up because of your circumstance being so weird. You never have to work again. And you could just like catch up on years of pop culture.
Yeah, just like, you just sleep. What a sleep that would be. It would be so nice.
Yeah, you'd wake up feeling real good.
Yeah. I'm not saying I want like a ventilator. I'm just saying, knock me in a coma or something. That's all.
Freeze my head like Ted Williams.
There you go. There you go. Oh, slugger. All right, so he wakes up. He gets Jenny Agooter.
Right, that's his nurse, and she's a sexy nurse. I find her to be a predator. This is my biggest problem with this movie. I don't think she should be fucking this patient.
It's a little bit of inappropriate. Although once he's discharged from the hospital, it's all fair game.
I guess so, but she like gets him discharged, and then she's taking care of him at her place. She's like keeping him like a house mother. Like, all right, I'm going to work, honey. You stay here, and
anytime.
You're fine with it.
Who wouldn't want to do that? That'd be amazing.
No, I agree. It would be fine.
Yeah. It is interesting. She's obviously she finds him very attractive because she says the line
more
twice.
than once. Yeah. I find you very attractive in her weird accent.
Her weird accent.
Yeah.
It's just refined upper class British. But
I didn't care for it.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
All right, so she takes him fucking home. And Griffin Dunn appears to him in her bathroom mirror, all cut up to shit. Great makeup effects. everyone remembers the werewolf transformation as being like the reason this movie's known for that and won an Oscar and stuff. But I think the shit with Griffin Dunne looks just as cool.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah. All right. So Griffin Dunne.
It's post Romero doing it pretty much, though. I mean, Romero did the same thing in Dawn of the Dead in color, with zombies and stuff like that. Did Rick Baker do that stuff too?
No, I don't know. Was it Tom Savini?
Ah, there you go. Oh, yeah. the two titans clashing.
It's true.
Yeah. All right.
What are we talking about?
They're in the bathroom. He sees a vision, and he wonders if he's going crazy. Am I going crazy? I can't be going crazy. Is that real?
Why don't you fuck off, Henry? That's a good scene.
No, he just does it every time.
So Griffin Dunne tells him, though, that in order to... he's wandering the globe as a lost spirit. And that's what happens to these werewolf deaths unless you sever the line of werewolf. And he basically tells Naughton, like, it'd be super easy to sever your werewolf line because that fucking guy who bit you got killed immediately.
Right.
So, like, you're the werewolf line. So Griffin Dunne's just telling his friend, bro, have some sympathy for your bro and kill yourself, motherfucker.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you about a line that is said in there that after it was said, I was waiting for it to come up again, and it never did, so I practically thought I fucking imagined it. Doesn't, in their first encounter post-dead Griffin Dunne, doesn't he tell him, before he says kill yourself, doesn't he say the only way to bring me into some sort of, unlimbo, and you have to die, and you have to die by someone who loves you. He says that. Someone who loves you has. So I was like thinking it's going to have to be Jenny Agutter who kills him.
Yeah.
They never address it again because then every other scene it's just Griffin Dunne and then all the other zombies telling him, kill yourself, kill yourself. So I wonder if that was like something Landis thought about and then during like filming or editing decided I'd rather just have them continue the like you have to kill yourself theme.
Honestly, it's a good point. I remember the line that you're referencing, and I do not recall.
Yeah, like I was thinking.
Is the implication maybe that he's not dead at the end?
That could easily be the implication.
Although when Landis wrote a draft of the sequel years later, he presented it as though the Naughton character was dead.
Okay. And then I was thinking, I literally was just trying to make a little bit of logic out of the goofiness, because who cares, really? But I was just like, well, I guess he loves himself. So if he kills himself. Oh, my God.
Well, I think it has to be someone... I don't know. It's odd, because in some ways they're trying to subvert the werewolf mythos or whatever, because... there's one moment that I like where Naughton's like, do you need a silver bullet or whatever? Yeah. And Griffin Dunne's like, no, don't be an idiot. And
that was funny. Yeah.
So on some level there's that, but then on the other level there is that sort of weirdness with the one true love kind of thing.
At the end of the movie, right before he dies, she says, I love you. And then he gets shot. So maybe it's like someone has to say it.
But I mean, like when they killed the werewolf that kills Griffin Dunne, it's not like one of those people from the Shattered Clam is like in love with them.
Right, I know. It's a strange line. That's why I think it might have been like just a post, like a mistake, and they just didn't get to fix it or didn't care enough.
Could be, Henry. Could be. Should I lower my grade because of that?
I mean, other reasons, but sure. Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
I don't know what it's going to be, because clearly you've reassessed the film with no nostalgia and are giving it a fair shot.
Well, I have done that in recent years. Like, this is not I've watched this movie every few years.
Oh, I didn't know that. So you're pretty close to this film.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably seen it under 10 times, but still, like, I've seen it a bunch. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I agree. Like, there's maybe a little bit of fat in the middle. After he gets out of the hospital and he goes home, like, there's a section of the movie they don't really know what they're doing. The psychotherapist goes out to the what is it, the slaughtered lamb, and he's farting around the house, and yeah.
Yeah, there's some stuff that's just kind of sitting there is kind of the best way to like it, and it's just not really producing anything to move along his dilemma or the story, and it's weird because like
But
the
it doesn't
first
matter.
part,
You get the fucking, and you need that, and then you get the werewolf transformation, which
Correct.
goes on forever, and you're thankful for it.
yeah,
'Cause
no,
it's
it's
awesome.
true. But I think it takes. I mean, it can't. To me, it's just not going to be a 5-star movie with all that fat in the middle. I mean, it's got a great beginning and a pretty damn good ending, but like all that stuff in the middle is just like they had so much material to work with, and they just didn't really utilize it.
I just like it. I like how leisurely it is.
It's very leisurely. They really do depend a lot upon. And see, going into this is interesting too. I didn't even know who became the werewolf. I really didn't know as much about this as I thought. Like I was like in the beginning, I was like, oh, I always thought my whole life it was Griffin Dunne.
Well, he's the bigger name of the two, ultimately.
Of course. I was like, right. And so when it turned out to be, and when Griffin Dunne dies in the beginning, I was like, he's not dead. They can't fucking kill.
Yeah,
Griffin.
I mean he's second or third build in the movie.
Yeah, and I mean I know he wasn't like as big as he got by 81. But
I mean, did he ever get big?
Well, I mean, he was in After Hours, and he's
that's true. He's the fucking lead in After Hours.
Yeah, everybody knows who Griffin Dunne is, even in smaller roles. But I mean, you know,
hey, these days he's on This Is Us on NBC.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's too bad. He plays Milo Ventimiglia's younger brother.
I would like to see
through the magic of flashbacks.
I would like to see a little Griffinisance. You know, it'd be nice to see a little.
I think we're experiencing it. It's the This Is Us, the Renaissance.
Right. That was great. That was
well executed.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool to see him like pop up in like a mainstream movie or some shit, just in like a cameo role or something. That'd be cool. He doesn't need to do that.
No.
He writes movies and shit, doesn't he? Griffin Dunne. He like does all kinds of stuff. He's just
I know he directed for a while. He directed that movie Addicted to Love with Matthew Broderick and Meg Ryan.
Did he direct something we just ranked for our Evan Rachel Wood list, Practical Magic?
Oh yeah, you're right. He did direct fucking Practical Magic. God, yeah, he's done some directing in his time. He directed a documentary about Joan Didion in 2017 for Netflix.
I remember that. Yeah.
All right, so good for Griffin Dunne. He's just doing what he wants.
Getting her done.
In 1996, he was nominated for an Oscar for Best Short Film.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought I had heard or remembered when I was younger that he was kind of just one of those guys who, like, acting was. He's not one of those guys who like acting was his like life. He just kind of did different things, and you know, I always got the impression. You know, we just talked about very funny. I thought in a very funny way. We always talk about like the intelligence or lack thereof behind actors, and we never really know who's smart or stupid. And I always just kind of thought Griffin Dunne was one of the smarter ones. I just get that vibe from him. Like you could talk with him, and he'd be an interesting guy to talk to. It's not just like a blank slate.
For the most part, to direct a movie, you can't be a total moron. And so, like, these guys that are actors that have maintained directing careers for all these years, I assume they're not idiots.
Might be something going on behind the cue cards. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so After the sex, he transforms into a werewolf and goes out and murders, and just 6 people. It's all right.
They're
And
good scenes, though. They're good scenes. Those are when he goes to the couple's house behind the mansion, and
yeah,
the guy wants to like sneak up the back stairs, surprise his friend, and then he just fucking rips him apart. I like the subway scene is fantastic. That's very, very good.
yeah, something that's replicated in the sequel.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the subway scene's cool.
Yeah.
It's the tube, as they call it over there in
I was
London.
going to say that, but I didn't want to sound, snobby. But
I'm okay sounding snobby.
no. But you can say it without coming across. Like
Is that right?
Yeah, but I'll say it, and it'll be like, oh, because he's been to London, or Henry's so cultured and smart and intelligent. And
Is that how you think of yourself?
Everybody, old Henry knows so much about classical music and foreign nations. I don't want that. I
think we're getting a real window into how you perceive other people's perceptions of you.
No. That's just from fan mail.
Fan mail? You mean TLC's second best album? All right. So, yeah, he goes out as a werewolf, and then he's concerned about that a little bit, and so he kills himself. That's the end of the movie.
He makes a weird phone call in the little red phone booth there.
You know about those red phone booths because you were in fucking London, you cultured motherfucker?
See, I couldn't say, red phone booth because I don't want to come across like, I've been to Piccadilly. I've also been to Piccadilly Circus, by the way.
Oh, yeah? Well, I grew up on Piccadilly Downs. That was my street.
That's a touche right there.
Yeah. Actually, it was my whole neighborhood growing up was called, it sounds fancy, but it's not. It's not nice. It's called Yorkshire. All the street names were British. So there was one Trafalgar Square, Canterbury Gate, Bixley Heath. These are all streets.
Goodness gracious!
Yeah.
Did people walk around with like London fog coats and Sherlock Holmes hats and a pipe?
No, they walked around with fucking MAGA hats.
In 1986, they were getting ready.
No, I wasn't there in '86. This is when we moved to Long Island.
All right, you're a Brooklynite. That's right.
Yeah.
Funny.
Anyway, what do you give the movie?
I give it a solid 3 stars.
I'll accept that. I'll accept it. 3's good.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it.
I did. It was. I've been waiting a long time to see it. Sometimes it doesn't help when you have astronomical expectations, but though it wasn't just that. I was trying to sort of. I kind of got why everybody loves it, but I think it just certain things in it just weren't for me. I didn't see the perfection in it. I think that's what I missed, the perfection of the movie that I think warrants a lot of the 5s.
And I give this a 5.
Yes. I'm not alone on that. I noticed on Letterboxd there were a few people that I follow and follow me who...
I think that if you don't see this growing up or something, like if you watch this for the first time as an adult with like an adult brain, with like the critical eye or what have you, like I do think it's undeniably slow-paced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And... you can make the argument it could use a stronger leading man. Like I think you're too harsh on David Naughton, but
fair enough.
I think that you can certainly make the argument that having Griffin Dunn and David Naughton switch roles may have helped the movie.
I think it would have. Yeah.
But for me, it's a perfect one.
5 stars.
It's a 5-star. And,
All right.
I didn't see it growing up. I think I saw it for the first time at like 19, 18, around there.
Oh.
But I enjoyed it right away. It stuck with me. I did think it was probably slow the first time I saw it, and then I fully got it the second time.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. This isn't something that was like, oh, all right, I saw it, check it off the list, never watch it again. It wasn't like that at all. I mean, I'd totally watch it again.
I think this is the best werewolf movie of all time. I'll say that. Do you
figure?
Okay, so oddly enough, I think the two best werewolf movies of all time both came out in 1981. This and The Howling.
Never saw The Howling.
Oh, well, see, we got to do that for the podcast, but it's such a weirdly long franchise. They kept making those fucking Howling movies.
Yeah, right. You're right.
There's like The Howling 6, Your Sister's a Werewolf.
Right. Yeah, they never stopped with that.
Yeah.
I like Wolf. Mike Nichols, we both love Wolf.
Yeah, if you think An American Werewolf in London is good, but it could use more corporatized thriller elements, then Wolf is the one for you.
You got James Spader.
High-ceilinged intrigue. That's what I like to say.
Spader. Wolf's a good time.
No, Wolf is a good time. I'm not talking shit, but
yeah.
But I certainly think there's a better than Wolf out there.
Yeah, I was thinking about it when I was watching this movie. I don't know that I've seen that many werewolf movies. I really don't.
I feel like there's so many. There's Dog Soldiers, the Neil Marshall one.
Didn't see it. Neil Marshall did a one?
That's Dog Soldiers.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know that was about that. Oh, I guess I saw the Ethan Hawke one, Skinwalkers, if I recall. I think that's werewolves.
Oh, I saw that Werewolves Within just this past year.
I saw that on Letterboxd. I didn't think it'd be for me. Is it any good?
Not really. Silver Bullet, you see that one? That's good.
Nope.
That's the weird I'm in a wheelchair movie. Wolfen, I've never seen. Hey, Teen Wolf, we covered on the show. An incredible werewolf movie.
That's a great werewolf movie.
Yeah. Starring the mighty Boof.
That's right. And Styles. That's right.
Oh, my God. How many amazing characters are in Teen Wolf?
It's fucking full of them, man. You got the bully, you got the girlfriend, you got the great dad.
The fat guy?
Fantastic. Love Teen Wolf. Great soundtrack.
Can we just cover
everything.
that again?
Just do it again. Just do the whole thing again. Yeah.
It is so good.
I know. I remember that was one I was proud of because I
Maybe that's the best werewolf movie. Maybe this is number 2.
All right, yeah. I don't remember what I
Ginger
gave.
Snaps. You ever see that one? We could cover that on the show as well.
Yeah.
Of course, Lon Chaney.
Well, my Wolfman that I grew up in, when I was a kid, I watched fucking Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein so much that I always loved Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman. I still think of him and they reference him in this movie, of course.
Well, he's cool looking. The design of the Wolfman in that movie is awesome.
You're so right. I love that because he's like basically still a man and he's still wearing clothes.
Yeah, he's a wolf man.
Yeah, it's very cool. I never saw the Benicio del Toro supposed disaster with Anthony Hopkins.
Nor have I. Maybe I should.
What is that called?
I think it was just the Wolf Man.
That's correct, the Wolf Man. Is that Gore Verbinski?
No, I don't think so. But I think it's somebody. It's like a major director. But like that was like in development for the longest time, like on the shelf.
And that is too bad if it sucks because Benicio del Toro would be fucking perfect.
It's Joe Johnston.
Oh, we know that name.
It's the Rocketeer, Captain America, First Avenger, Jurassic Park 3. So many classics. Also, by the way, that movie is
Marvel movies. One of the worst Jurassic Park. No, did I like Jurassic Park 3?
I don't know. You have such weird opinions on those movies.
It's not Fallen Kingdom, I'll say that.
Fuck you.
That's for the audience.
I know. You're like trolling from that meme.
I love the little meme. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say fucking Andrew Kevin Walker wrote that Wolfman movie.
Oh, my God.
Maybe you should see it.
Wrong then. Something went wrong there then. Jesus Christ.
I don't know. Is there anybody out there, like, it's been years, Maybe that movie is like one of these movies that like a certain segment is like, hey, remember that Wolfman? That shit was good.
On Letterboxd, is there anyone who liked it?
That's a great question. I don't think I've ever looked it up. It's just like a totally forgotten movie.
Looking it up too. I want to see. I'm very curious. I always like to find the outliers.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'm looking. All right. Hey, someone I follow gave it a 4. Someone I follow gave it a 3.5. I'm also looking at a lot of 1s and 2s, but
I've got a 4 from A Quiet Will.
Yeah, the same guy here.
We got Leon over in Sweden gave it a 3.
Matt Gurley, who is a fellow podcaster.
Okay.
He liked it as well. He's a name. He hosts the James Bonding podcast. Very popular James Bond podcast.
That's cool. Which reminds me, we're gonna have to probably ratchet it up a little bit.
What? Just because you want to talk about No Time to Die?
No, because it's I've really liked, just as a little side conversation, I've really liked the way we've accidentally, it's definitely not intentional on either of our parts, like spaced the Bond movies over 5 years. We've done a really good job, but we're probably due.
All right, so I'm committed.
I don't know.
I'm committed that in 2022 we will definitely get to Dalton and Brosnan.
Oh, I thought maybe we'd get to them in 2021.
We've got so many commitments in 2021. We know what we're doing for October. We might do Twilight in November. We've got Christmassy movies in December. I've got my big pitch in January about Catch Up.
Oh, right. Which you never told me. And weeks ago on air, you were like, I got to tell you about my catch-up
I've talked about it extensively in the Discord, if you want to sign on.
You and I have a show, so we could also communicate off of social media. It would be good.
I guess so.
Yes. Ask Tim. He has our URL. I don't know what that
Good point,
means.
yeah. All right, so...
you have to explain to me.
That's just a website. It's just a website address.
No, I know. So I don't understand how you purchase it. I don't get that.
So she set it up on Wix site, right? But then Tim just bought the URL, thefranchisepod.com, and attached it to the Wix site thing. So when you click thefranchisepod.com, it goes to that site.
Very cool. So he set it up for basically user ease.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
You feel good about that now?
I do. Well done, Timothy.
Hey, Tim, you did something that made Henry happy.
I would just never, my mind. I would never even think to. Of course, because it's something that you and I should have done.
Yeah.
Fucking Kurt.
Tim also bought my microphone. Tim is basically making this show run.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, American Werewolf in Paris. You ready to talk about this thing?
I am. And before we do, I want to say that I really...
Hey, we never did MVP and LVP.
Sorry, yeah. Okay. My MVP, I liked a lot of the actors in this. I liked the Doctor... I like Griffin. But a lot of the movie really is heavily reliant upon this good actress making him try to say his lines. And I liked her. She had a lot of charm. And no, it's not because she's attractive. I find her very attractive. Jenny, you got her.
All right.
MVP. LVP David Naughton. Better movie without him.
I'll go with MVP... Griffin Dunn.
Yeah. LVP.
Of course, John Landis for his many murders.
Come on, pick an LVP.
What?
Candidates in this, you know it.
I don't know that I have, actor candidates for LVP.
This is clearly a new trend with you, and I really got to get on this train. I got to get on this D train. Because if that's our new precedent, you've been doing this for weeks now. I got to start doing it regularly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I used to do it all the time, and you get so fucking irrationally angry at me, so I just exclusively pick actors. And I'm all up for picking different aspects of the film. It's fine with me.
I have no
So-
idea what you're talking about.
Of course you don't. Well, guess what? I'll start tonight on Paris. I'll start tonight, so that'll be fine. All right, so you're picking Landis.
I'll go with Frank Oz if it makes you happy.
Sucked. And who doesn't love Frank Oz except for his awful directorial debut in In and Out?
that wasn't his debut, was it?
I don't know.
I think he directed some Muppet shit before that.
He did the score though. Ooh.
Oh yeah, you're turning a corner on his directing career.
Isn't that weird? That he fucking how the fuck? Why would he? So weird.
Bowfinger. That's a good. Yeah, he directed a shit ton of stuff. Look at this: The
Really?
Dark Crystal, Muppets Take Manhattan, Little Shop of Horrors, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. What About Bob? What a career!
Oh my. Okay. Yeah, that's impressive, Frankie. Sorry.
Your acting just isn't the best thing that you do.
Yeah, he's an incredible puppeteer and director, apparently. And maybe you don't need to be on the screen. Maybe you need to be just under the screen.
Completely. Just out of the boom mic's range.
Yeah. No, you need to be in the boom mic's range. You just need to be outside of the lenses range.
Yeah, the cameraman. So, all right, so your LVP's Frank Oz. That's a goodie.
Great.
All right, so moving on.
Wait, what were you going to say? It felt like you had a big statement about this.
Yeah, I was in I put on American Paris, available on Tubi. Wanted to just pay for it so I could fucking watch it ad free. Not possible.
I know. I had the same thing. I wanted to pay for it and could not.
Oh, dumb. It's like, I'm willing to buy the fucking movie. Let me. No, right? Not possible. It was like 5 channels it's on, all have ads. So it's like, well, Tubi tends to have the least amount.
I did the same thing. I chose Tubi over IMDb TV because IMDb TV has the worst amount of ads.
Pluto isn't much better, but it is a little better. Peacock isn't very good either.
Oh, well, I have ad-free Peacock. No big deal.
Okay. Yeah, I don't need Peacock for much, so I get it.
They got WWE over there.
Oh, fair enough. But Tubi really doesn't do a terrible job with it. So, and they tell you when they're coming, so it's kind of like, all right.
You can prepare. Yeah, that's true. It shows up in 10 seconds. Your ad will start, and you start to think, all right, I guess I'll take a piss.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's exactly what I did. Yeah, so I went into this movie knowing what you said last week, admiring the fact that you're a fan of the movie, the Paris one, and it's universally kind of ridiculed. And again, I hadn't seen it. I do remember when it came out. So I was really kind of rooting for you. I was in your. I was like, go into it. Come on. I had no prejudice because remember, I didn't fall in love with London. So I was kind of like, all right, let's see how bad this really is. Let's just come on now.
Sure.
Everybody. So I went into it very openly. It has things in it that I thought were going to be a little promising, but I came to the conclusion this is such a fucking Dan movie. I know,
Why?
I know exactly why you loved it. It hits on a ton of stuff that you just really like. You know how you say I'm a whore for the 80s?
Yeah.
You're kind of a whore for the 90s sometimes on a certain trope of a certain genre, and you got the 3 bros. They're going abroad. They kind of talk douchey. It's got a lot of music in it you probably like.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Am I right so far?
You better believe it.
The pacing is the way it looks. It's very, I know what you did last summer looking.
Yeah. You mean cinematic and beautiful?
Correct. Yeah, correct, of course. And so I was like, no wonder he loves this shit. The only thing I think that I think you will agree with me on, because I'm sure you're not giving it a 5.
How dare you?
Yeah, the thing that was definitely not you, or me for that matter, but was the final 30 minutes of chaos.
Oh, it gets ridiculous.
Right.
You know, once we're like hanging out with like Claude and his horde of werewolves.
Like now it's Blade. It just turns into Blade. It's like fucking.
Oh, the club scene. Yeah,
people get slaughtered and let in there to get killed.
Hey, the club scene in Blade is way better.
It's great. But so I understood very quickly, maybe 5 minutes into the movie, I was like, okay, Dan loved it. I get it. I could see why.
Was it when he bungee jumped off the Eiffel Tower?
For that. The train sequence in the opening scene.
I love the train sequence.
Yeah, I was like, this is all Dan, man.
All right,
this has got what he wants.
Let me talk about the development process of this one, because this is actually one of the more fascinating development processes of a sequel I've come across on the show.
Okay, all right.
All right, so about 10 years after American Werewolf in London comes out, the studio goes to John Landis and says, do you have any ideas for a sequel? Maybe that's something we can think about. So John Landis goes off and writes a full draft of a sequel. He titles it An American Werewolf in Paris, I think, which was a working title of American Werewolf in London. They were having trouble getting the financing in London for a while, so they were considering moving it to Paris. So he already had that in his head. It was going to tie in heavily to the first one, but not actually feature any of the characters. Like, it was going to be someone like investigating the situation from the first one. All right. So he gives it to the studio. The studio says, it's too weird. Can you make it less weird? And John Landis is like, no, I don't actually care that much.
I read that he kind of was just like, you know, I did this for fun. If you don't want to take what I wrote, I'm good.
He said, yeah, I think he specifically said, like, I'll take the check. It's fine.
Yeah.
So next up, they offer it to John Lafia, who we've actually covered on the show. He wrote and directed Oh, no, he did not write it, because Don Mancini wrote all those. But he directed Child's Play 2.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But, you know, he's a guy who was around a long time. He wrote a draft of this, and it didn't get picked up. Then they gave it to Tim Burns and Tom Stern, who ultimately end up with a writing credit on this movie, even though they maintain, like, barely anything they wrote is in the movie. So they are a writing team, and Tom Stern is a director. He was like a music video director at the time, and he directed like a cheap comedy called Freaked. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, with Brooke Shields.
No, not.
But anyway, so they liked their script a lot, and they liked it so much apparently that they decided that they wanted an established director to make it. Like, so they fired Tom Stern off of his own movie because he had done too good a job.
What a shithole that place is.
I know. What a shithole Hollywood is. Yeah, so...
Good God.
So they rescind the role, like, and they decide they're going to use the script, but they hire on Marco Brambilla, who's coming off of Demolition Man, to direct the movie.
Well, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Love it.
So he's attached for a couple of years, and he keeps, like, bringing in his own guys to do rewrites, and then the studio's bringing in more guys to do rewrites until, like, he's gone, and then they're left with nothing. Like, they had a script they liked, and now they have 12 scripts that they don't like.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So they actually brought in the guys who wrote No Time to Die.
What?
Yeah, I knew you'd love this. So Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, who have screenwriting credits on the current Bond movie.
And other Bond movies.
Yeah. The Quantum of Solace and Skyfall and Spectre, too. They're brought in and fucking Die Another Day. Yeah, they've worked on Bond forever. So they're brought in to do a draft of this movie, and they actually invented the Daredevil team that they're on. Like the tour, the Daredevil tour. That's like the premise of the movie.
Oh,
The reason
okay.
they're in Paris, and he invents they invent the bungee sequence with Julie Delpy. But then they get fired off of it too, and they bring in this dude Anthony Waller, who's like a young filmmaker who's got a lot of buzz because of this movie he just recently wrote and directed called Mute Witness.
That sounds great.
Now, this is a movie I literally watched for the first time 1 month ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I just randomly saw this movie.
Oh, not any connection to liking this movie?
No. Honestly, it was just like a cover I always saw growing up, and I was like, maybe I'll watch that.
Okay. All right.
So, Mute Witness is kind of a cool movie. You can see why they liked him. It's about this mute girl who's working. Yeah. She's working on the set of a horror movie abroad. I think they're in Italy. And she comes back after hours to like get something she forgot, and some of the crew is on the set filming a snuff film.
Nice.
And she watches it from afar, and she watches like the girl get fucked and murdered. And then of course like she like is surprised and like trips over something. And so the whole rest of the movie is like these dudes trying to kill this girl, like trying to chase after this mute girl because she saw them filming a snuff film.
Yeah, I was gonna. What? She should scream.
Well, she can't. She's mute. That's a problem.
Why didn't she open her mouth? Just look like she's screaming in a crowd of people, and they'll be like, "What is this, Sutherland in Invasion of the Body Snatchers doing the?"
Didn't even work. You know, she tried to call her sister at one point, but
no,
what's she gonna do? It's not gonna work on the phone.
That's not gonna work. Morse code, tap it through the phone.
Yeah. So the poster of the movie is exactly the poster from Silence of the Lambs, except instead of a butterfly over the mouth, her mouth is sort of sewn shut.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Boy,
You can actually see the poster for that movie in the subway sequence in An American Werewolf in Paris. The fucking werewolf comes crashing through a wall directly next to a poster for the director's previous movie.
I almost think I remember what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Did you think it was a Silence of the Lambs poster?
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I zoned out.
That's allowed.
During this movie, I didn't even catch in the beginning that they were on a Daredevil quest.
Oh, how fucking dare you! Dare. Hey, this film was nominated for one award, Henry, and it was not a Razzie, before you start razzing me.
It was a stinky!
No, it was an MTV award.
Oh, because I thought it was nominated for a quote-unquote stinky
We don't
award.
cover the Stinker Bad Movie Awards on this show.
No, we don't.
Second-rate Razzie bullshit.
That's true. Below the raspberries. So an MTV award, okay. I want my MTV.
Wow. Sounded remarkably consistent to all the other times we played that theme.
Yeah. Recorded.
Of course, this was nominated for a Best Song MTV Award. Henry! And what a song it is! One of my favorites.
Yeah. Is this the song that every Letterboxd review mentions?
Yes it is. Okay? Mouth by Bush. Let's talk about him, Bush. One of the great bands.
Okay.
All right? I like to say An American Werewolf in London is shaved because it lacks Bush.
It's shaved?
Yeah, that's right.
Never heard that
That
phrase
film is
applied.
well, if something doesn't have a bush, it's shaved usually.
Got it.
Thanks, Henry.
Got it.
Thanks
Trimmed.
for going along. No, not just fully shaved. No bush at all. Not even a trimming of bush.
Okay.
You know, not even a snippet of everything Zen. All right, Bush. I love Bush unabashedly, Henry. One of my favorite grunge bands of the era, and They have an amazing song called Mouth on their second album, Razorblade Suitcase, of course.
Sounds great. Great title for an album.
Razorblade Suitcase, obviously that's an incredible title for an album.
Sounds dark.
Henry, it is. It's a little darker than their first one. They were going for sort of an in utero vibe on that album.
Well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Mouth was a great one and was not released as a single, but then a couple years after that album came out, or maybe 1 year after, they put it in this movie, An American Werewolf in Paris, and see what happened was they remixed it. Okay. All right? It's a remix. I don't like it as much as the original, to be honest. But I'm still thankful for a Bush song in the middle of this movie. It plays in the film during the scene where Tom Everett Scott almost fucks Julie Bowen in a cemetery.
Oh, okay. On Jim Morrison's grave.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, what an amazing song. But it did not win the MTV award. It lost to Will Smith's Men in Black theme.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know which I love more. Honestly, that's a real Sophie's choice for me.
Well, now, do the MTV awards pick songs that were... the Bush song was not written for the movie. Like,
but see, Henry, it was remixed for the movie and released as a single in conjunction with the movie, to the point where if you go watch the classic music video for Mouth by Bush, it has scenes from An American Werewolf in Paris involved.
Oh, boy. All right. Okay.
All right. So, unfortunately, Bush lost out on that award. And Gavin also lost out on Gwen. She chose a country guy.
Yeah, that's true. I knew that. And then 3 years later, though, Bush became president. So that wasn't a bad ending up for Bush.
No, it was a different Bush. A vastly inferior Bush.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought he was involved.
I would rank the band Bush above all the Bushes in that whole family.
Jeb, George 2.
Jenna.
Neil.
Sure. DeGrasse Tyson.
What about
Barbara? No, fuck Barbara.
Laura.
Yeah, they're all terrible.
I know.
How many? You know so many.
I'm a political junkie, of course.
What was Jenna's sister? They were the Bush twins, weren't they?
Barbara.
No.
Yeah, she was named after her grandmother.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm telling you.
She was like this hot, young, drunk girl named Barbara?
Well, Jenna was the one always in trouble. She was the blonde who was always in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Brunette. Yeah.
Remember we had a friend who was with a Barbara for a long time.
That's right.
Yeah. It's an interesting name for a young person. Anyway.
It is. Yeah.
This film finally comes out August 31st, 1997. I was there. Saw it in theaters.
Wow. You're 11.
I had just turned 11 exactly 1 month earlier.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. A lunar cycle later, this movie came out after Dan's birthday.
Yeah.
Yo, by the way, what's with the in American Werewolf in London? What's with the full moon happening and then the next night it's a full moon again?
No, this is established in werewolf lore, of course. There's the 3 nights of the full moon, the phases, you know?
Oh, see, I don't know enough about werewolves. I got to get on that. I got to study up on my lycanthropy.
Yeah, oh, they name check lycanthropy in these movies.
As well they should.
I don't think I ever remembered hearing that until Underworld, but I guess it was around.
Yeah.
Thanks, Henry. All right. So this movie had a budget of $25 million. It's for all that CGI, too much CGI in this film. Yeah. It ends up making $26 million at the box office. Probably not what they wanted.
I wouldn't think so.
Comes in at number 78 at the box office for 1997. Smack dab in the middle of 2 of the best films of that year. That's right. I'm talking about Boogie Nights and Paul W.S. Anderson's Event Horizon.
Wow. Holy fuck. Boogie Nights... I didn't remember Boogie Nights didn't do well at the box office.
It did. It was cheap. That was an indie movie at the time.
I know. I mean, but I remember I saw it in theaters when it came out. I just remember it.
So did my parents.
That's cool. I just I didn't remember it just being a critical success at the time. I thought it was actually made money
It did make money, but
for its budget.
yeah. It made a modest amount of money for a movie.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, let's talk about this film. It picks up with three very likable young men.
Immediately, I'm looking at Tom Everett Scott. I'm going, where the fuck do I know this guy from?
How do you not know him from stuff?
Hang on. So I'm looking on Letterboxd. I think I even paused the movie, or probably didn't pause it, just let it run. And I looked, and of course I see that he's in that thing you do, that silly movie. And then I realized what I know him from.
Boiler Room.
Of course, he's the boss in Boiler Room.
Yeah, he's basically J.P. Marlin.
Yeah, correct. They named their friends sound like us, so they make me sound like him. Yeah.
No, of course.
All I know him from.
Tom Everett Scott's the star of this film, and boy, oh boy, howdy, I was a fan of this guy. All right, I followed this guy's career.
I gotta tell you, man, he ain't bad.
He's good.
Yeah.
They put him
coming off a knot, and I'm like, oh, there's a guy who can actually kind of convey some emotion, and yeah.
He's funny. He's got good timing, I think.
He's not bad, yeah.
So he's put in That Thing You Do in like the lead role in that movie. And it's basically exactly the role Tom Hanks would have played in the 80s if that movie was made. And so as a kid, since Tom Hanks directed That Thing You Do, it felt to me like Tom Hanks passing the baton to this guy. And so like I'm a big fan of those early Tom Hanks movies. I'm like, I guess I gotta see Tom Everett Scott and shit. He's like the new Tom Hanks. So, I've seen him in a lot of movies. He was in, of course, Dead Man on Campus. Have you ever seen that one?
What do you think?
I don't know. It was a big movie at the time.
Never even heard of it.
It's him and Mark Paul Gosselaar, Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. And they find out that if their roommate commits suicide, then there's a rule where they get straight A's for the rest of the year or something.
That's it?
Yeah, so they're trying to finagle a way for their roommate to commit suicide. Now, this movie was made twice that year as a drama and a comedy. It was sort of like a Volcano Deep Impact situation.
Oh.
Or, excuse me, Volcano Dante's Peak Armageddon Deep Impact. Yeah.
Well done.
So there was another movie called The Curve. All right.
That I do know.
And that was with Kerry Russell, and that's the dramatic version of that story.
Okay.
All right.
You got something better than straight A's. I'd want like my own wing of a building or something, you know?
I think they might have gotten a suite, like a really nice suite.
I mean, come on.
But, I mean, ultimately, Tom Everett Scott sort of like hung around for a while and never really amounted to much. He was a bit of a failure in the eyes of Hollywood, I think. They tried to give him TV shows a couple of times, and they never lasted.
It's funny, because I could see him on TV much more than a movie.
He always did dramas, though. I don't know why he never did, like, a sitcom.
Yeah.
I feel like he'd thrive on a sitcom.
Yeah, he could do that.
Anyway, what's he up to these days? I'm kind of curious.
He's hanging around with Freddie Prinze and Sarah Michelle Gellar. They're out of the biz.
He's acting. He's in Hallmark movies and shit. That's right. The last thing I saw him in was the Scream TV show. He played like the sheriff of the town, I think.
Hey, man, it's better than having a day job.
That's true. Yeah, can't feel too bad for the guy.
No, he's doing better than we are.
Yeah, his friends are both out of the business, unfortunately.
No kidding.
Phil Buckman is the one who survived the film.
Chris.
Actually, he's working. Look at this guy. He's acting. Not much, but he's still acting a little bit. But yeah, it never really panned out for that guy. The other guy I know from more stuff, Vince Villouf.
Yeah, great name.
You familiar with him?
No. I see him in Rat Race and
Yeah.
the short-lived UPN sitcom Love Inc.
Yeah, this guy is one of the dumbest guys in Hollywood. Listen to this. He had a huge agent, all right? Like one of the top guys. He was going to
Okay.
be like a big deal. They got him in that movie Rat Race. He plays like Seth Green's brother or something. And that was a huge movie, big ensemble film. And there's like 20 main characters in that movie. You
Yeah, I
know?
passed. But yeah, okay. I know what movie. Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
So the poster comes out. He's not on it. Vince Viloof. And Vince Viloof believes that he is in enough of that movie that he should be on the poster. The studio, understandably, is like, nobody's ever heard of you. If we put you on the poster, not a single person is going to be like, oh, Vince Viloof is in it? I'm going to go see this movie.
Right.
So they left him off in favor of actual stars like, Whoopi Goldberg and John Lovitz or whatever.
Okay.
And
All
he goes ahead and fires his agent for not getting him on that poster.
Holy fuck. Who was his agent? Like William Morris or
I don't
somebody?
remember, but something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I remember reading about this, not at the time, but years later. And after that, he just he got a UPN sitcom, and then he was out of the business by 2010.
Oh my God. Bad move, Vince.
Yeah. Fucked himself over.
Oh boy. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. Firing your agent. It's like shooting, it's like not getting the vaccine.
For his career, he might as well not be been unvaccinated. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So those three guys, they're on a train going to Paris, and they're having the time of their lives. All right. They're flirting with waitresses. They are chatting amongst themselves about all kinds of mischief they're going to get into. What, did I spit on you? What's happening?
The gnat is by my eye. Sorry.
All right, so
it's not Videodrome yet. They're drinking vino. That was an odd sight in itself, but kind of cool. Just because they're frat guys, you think they'll have beers, and they'd work that in the movie. But they're in France, and they kind of just don't comment on it. They're like, this is what you get when you're there. This is what we're drinking.
I told you about the time on Long Island that this guy made fun of me because I was drinking wine.
No, but I want to hear it.
My mom's hairdresser, I know this woman. I ran into her at this bar on Long Island. I was drinking like the House Red or whatever, just because I wasn't in the mood for beer. Right. And her boyfriend, who was this big like meathead, Guido, he came up to me and like in the guise like, let me give you some advice, right?
Oh my God.
All right, like he was trying to help me out, like let me help this kid out.
Sure.
So he pulls me aside and he says, "You don't drink wine in a bar. You look like a fag if you drink wine in a bar."
Right.
And I was like, thank you. I never would have known.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was over here looking all faggy. I'll never drink wine in a bar again. Long Island.
Now, before he said it to you, in his defense, did you ask him, I'm sorry, is this the line for the beer or the line for the tickets to get the beer?
Oh. Nice. That was a David Cross reference.
Oh, God. Wow. That's just great. What sage advice from a man's man.
Yeah. All right, so they're on a Daredevil tour, these guys, and you could tell that because one of them's wearing a leather jacket that says Daredevil Tour on the back.
Didn't think that had any significance. Okay.
And they set it up here that it's like they come up with weird shit that they think the other two won't do, and you get a certain amount of points. And it's like at the end of this trip through Europe, the winner I don't think they ever established what the winner gets, but
I don't
bragging
think it
rights
is
for
either.
sure.
Yeah, I don't think it either. And I also thought that some points were about like how many women they got.
That's
with.
a different thing. That was a separate contest they were having that had nothing to do with the Daredevil tour that they were calling sex points. Basically,
Okay.
you get a certain amount of points for different women.
Oh, I got confused. I got a little confused.
I understand. It's a smart movie with a complicated premise.
It really is. And if my brain power was not focused fully on it, I guess, and I missed that little tidbit. But, I think I can piece it together now.
So they get to Paris. It's nighttime. The first thing they decide to do is the Eiffel Tower's closed. Let's sneak by the guards and get up there, So it's sort of like the end of Sleepless in Seattle, where they have to like convince them to let them use the elevator to get to the top of the.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway. Except these guys do it with quite with ease
and panache.
It made me think. I bet you I could go to Paris and sneak into the Eiffel Tower.
Well, you could have in 1997. Pre 9/11, you could do anything.
Dude, I swear to God, no joke. Maybe you thought it too. I don't know, but you've seen the movie for it. My first thought when they were there after the closing and were getting onto the Eiffel, I was like, pre 9/11.
Yeah. Pre 9/11, it was like a free roaming world, like Grand Theft Auto 5 online. You could go anywhere you want to. There's no boundaries.
Incredible.
Now, in a post 9/11 world, it's more of a side scroller.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
All right. So they get to the top of the Eiffel Tower and they're joshing around, but they hear a lady crying. All right. And they go look around the corner. There she is, Julie Delpy from the Before movies.
Yeah.
There's just one at this point, Before Sunrise.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, you'd know more than me. Okay. Yeah, right. And this is happening before sunrise.
This is the first thing I ever saw her in. When I saw Before Sunrise, I was like, oh, it's that lady from American Werewolf in Paris.
God, wow, that's something. I think the first thing I ever saw her in might have been White.
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
I think, yeah. I don't know. Jesus.
All right. So she seems bummed out about something. Tom Everett Scott immediately, it's love at first sight, honestly. And boy, howdy, do they convey that beautifully. And she jumps off the Eiffel Tower, tries to commit suicide. Tom Everett Scott freaks out, goes jumping. He dives off the the Eiffel Tower after her, which is, he'll catch her no problem because he weighs more. All right. They timed it perfectly. And the good thing about it is he is tied to a bungee cord because he was going to earn points for the Daredevil tour by bungee jumping off of the Eiffel Tower. But he never tied it to anything. So the friends, they jump and they grab the cord. And boy, what a great comedy cut this is. They go sliding right into the bar. Ping! There are a lot of good sound effects in this movie, don't you think so? A lot of guys getting hit in the head. This is like concussion the movie.
Yeah, and there's a great special effect
of him
when he
grabbing her.
Yeah, it's really good.
I like the moment though where he catches her like right off of the ground and then just drops her like gingerly. Yeah.
Right. It's funny. I saw that the movie was getting a lot of shit for the special effects, and I assume they're mainly talking about the CGI wolves, but
they are mainly talking about that.
Yeah, and but you know what? Honestly, like, I'm not really interested in defending the movie that much, but these special effects, they're bad, but they're just the way most 90s.
They're bog standard for 1997.
Totally. I was like, guys, relax.
You think this movie looks that much worse than like fucking The Relic or Mimic or some shit?
No. I was even thinking of movies that came out a little bit later, like the ones we loved, the Resident Evil movies. Some of their creatures looked ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. Christ, to fault
Just
this
tell
movie for
me
the
the
special
story.
effects is not. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you're missing the point. I mean, I understand, though, that people have an issue with the fact that they're developing this pseudo sequel to a werewolf classic, and what that movie is remembered for primarily is Rick Baker's insane makeup effects. And so to choose to follow up that with foregoing makeup entirely and just using like of the time CGI.
No, it's true. And one of the things we didn't even talk about in London was the fact that a lot of the not a lot of them, but it's maybe half the kills are off screen. So Rick Baker doesn't fool, nor Landis. They don't fool themselves in that, they know, I think, the limitations of their werewolf effects. So when they
Landis actually cut a lot of the gore because of like complaints from like test screenings and shit, and he has said in hindsight that he regrets that.
Well, he should, because what would we have gotten? Probably wider shots of an unrealistic looking werewolf. So I think it was better when you just saw tight shots.
I don't know, there were like certain things, like he said there was a shot of like Griffin Dunn trying to eat and like the thing comes out his neck or something, and they like,
I wondered if that was going to happen specifically to Griffin Dunn. I was like, listen, we're in for some eating out of the throat coming, and it didn't happen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But in this one, they're very determined to overdo it and show you everything with these wolves that look shitty, and I'll grant you that. Yeah.
Yeah, they pretty much try and light them as much as possible by torchlight, which makes no sense because it's 1997, but
torchlight, and why? I mean, they're CGI. Why are we?
Well, I think they're trying to hide the limitations of the CGI by shooting it slightly darkly.
Here's a tip, DP. Shadows. Shoot in shadows. You're in tunnels.
All right, so Tom Everett Scott ends up in the hospital from this, and because he goes flying back up, and he also hits his head. It's another big ping, and then it cuts to the hospital. Julie Delpy's there. She's a nurse. I felt like she probably shouldn't have been a nurse. Like, that seemed like a leftover from the first movie.
I totally agree. I didn't get that connection at all. That didn't make any sense.
Because we almost never see her working again.
No, I actually even justified it in my head, being like, maybe she just stole a nurse's outfit to go in there and get the organs to eat.
Oh, maybe. I don't think so, but I could buy it.
Who knows, man? I also didn't catch this thing that I had to read in when I reread. Yes, I reread the plot in Wikipedia. Totally. Is there a line that I'm missing when she's in bed with Tom Scott and he's got her hands on her breasts, where she said she tells like basically her origins and shit like that? I don't remember a line saying that she's related to fucking David.
Oh, no, that's cut out of the movie.
Oh God. Okay. Jesus. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm fucking recounting this movie. I'm like, what am I? I didn't catch that at all.
I don't think that's in the movie. It's possible that both of us or one of us were distracted by Julie Delpy's boobs being out in that scene, but
it could be a possibility that I'm watching that. But I mean, it explicitly says in the Wikipedia thing that she is the daughter of those two.
I know that was the intention, but I don't think it's ever stated. I mean, unless she just like tells the story, and if you're really paying attention as an American Werewolf in London fan, you can like trace it back, like, oh, that makes her that. Yeah, but I don't care enough to do that.
Because they even had said that it's her stepdad who is trying to come up with the cure, and he's the one in the very beginning who gets, his legs ripped off.
Well, they say that they were trying to come up with a serum to cure werewolfism, and they injected him with a depressant, which immediately made him turn into a werewolf, and that's why it's then established at the end of the movie that the actual cure for werewolfism is adrenaline. Yeah. And so Tom Everett Scott's the perfect guy to be with for this werewolf, because this guy thrives on adrenaline. He's part of the Daredevil tour.
He likes bungee jumping. He likes running. He's a big jogger. He likes a rowing machine.
I bet this guy got into parkour heavy when that was a thing. I bet this guy's axe throwing now.
Oh, he's tomahawking his way through the city. That's for sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
Some kind of a league, maybe. Anyway,
Yeah.
so they're looking for her. They can't find Julie Delpy for a while. We get a montage of them searching for her, of course, set to Smash Mouth's Walking on the Sun.
Yeah, that song I knew and remembered very well. Yeah.
It's almost like we're bookending the year with Smash Mouth. In January, we heard All Star. Now,
Oh, was that January?
we started the year with Shrek.
Wow, time flies. Holy shit.
Yeah. So he's back again, the Smash Mouth boys, with Walking on the Sun.
It's a better song.
Oh, much better. Yeah. It's from
I actually
their-
liked this song when it came out.
Me too. It was from their first album, Fush You Man.
That's a great title.
So what happens? So they find her. They track her down somehow. They like knock on her door. And
Yeah.
and she's like
Claude
trying
Rains.
to get them out of there. Like, get the fuck, don't come to my house. And I'll meet you tomorrow at this place. That's how they get rid of them.
Yeah, they go to the door and Claude Rains answers, and
he's playing a character named Claude, I believe.
that's why I called him Claude Rains. As a subtle hint to the Invisible Man. Played by Claude
right.
Rains.
I thought it was Claude Rains in this movie.
No, he's dead.
Oh, okay. No, it's just a random French actor who's pretty bad. Probably my LVP, to be honest.
You know, that's not a bad call. I was going to give it to the writer of the movie.
But there were so many writers.
Great point. All right, I'm going to give it to Claude then. Here we go. That was unfilled, that position. Yes.
All right, so I thought it was a funny joke when he said, is there a cafe we could go to? And she says, we're in Paris.
Yeah.
So they go to a cafe, and he pulls out his wallet, and it's a condom. And he says, no, he's embarrassed that he has a condom. He says, it's gum.
Right.
And so she's like, oh, let me try it. So she opens it up. She's going to put it in her mouth. He grabs it, sticks it right up in his mouth. He's chewing on this condom. She knows what's happening. She says, blow me a bubble. He does. It's a condom bubble. Hilariously, he loses it. It goes farting away, and it lands on some guy's plate. And boy, Henry, what a hilarious scene.
Yeah, that was rough to watch. That whole sequence was just really bad in every way, and you feel for the actors in that sequence because you're wondering, they have to sit here and the guy says, okay, action, mark, spot, it's rolling, and then that's the scene they have to do.
I think it's a good scene.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I
And,
felt a little bad for Julie Delpy in the scene. Like, it's like, you're Julie Delpy. You shouldn't have to do this scene.
I felt that way for her most of the movie. I really did.
That's honestly fair.
She wanted some money. I'm sure she got paid handsomely for it.
Probably, honestly, this is probably the most amount of money Julie Delpy ever made for a movie.
Could be. I mean, if you're not talking getting it like back end profits and stuff, I'm sure she made a good
What
deal.
back end profits? What huge hits is Julie Delpy in?
Well, I mean, depending on what kind of contracts she gets, I mean, her upfront salary probably isn't that much. So if she has a good agent, she gets, some. Because Before Midnight was a blockbuster.
Huge film. All right, so they do that. How does she get bitten by the werewolf? Do they go to like a thing? They go to that club?
He gets right because she doesn't bite him. Claude bites him. He gets bitten in the tunnel. The wolf jumps through the cage at him, the jail-looking cage in the tunnel, and grabs his leg when he's trying to get through. Remember that? He bites.
But isn't that after they go to that weird party at the club?
Yeah, because he gets out alive, and I think it's so then.
They're preying on Americans. They're inviting Americans to this club, and I think they're like the movie has higher stakes than London. Like London is just like werewolves are farting around London. In Paris, it's like an army of werewolves are trying to like grow their army outward and take over the world.
Right, I kept thinking about Blade. Yeah, I knew it hadn't come out yet, but I know it had comics and all that. So
Yeah. Blade was a year away, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's a werewolf at this point. He meets a lovely lady. Oh, well, he goes to a restaurant and he orders a steak and he's just eating it with his bare hands, bloody, and that's
I can relate to that because I actually like my steaks very rare.
Me too. And honestly, the steak looked good in this movie.
It looked fantastic. I'll eat a beast right off the ground, man.
I'll fucking order one right after this.
Yeah, baby. That's how I like steak.
You actually do. I remember you used to make a steak sometimes when we lived together.
That's correct, and I would really not cook it very much.
You made one for me once. Remember that?
I know I made you chicken with pasta. Did I make you a steak?
I think one time you did. You made steak and you offered me some.
Oh.
Maybe it wasn't a full steak, but you cut me a nice helping.
Yeah, I think you. Yeah, I recall that. What a weird memory. Yes, yeah. And that's how I made it. I bet I said to you before too. I was like, "No, it's pretty rare."
And I bet I said to you, "That's how I fucking eat it," because my mom's a weirdo. My mom always tells me she was never much of a meat eater, and when she was pregnant with me, she craved steak, and she's liked red meat since then, and I think she passed it on to me.
Oh yeah.
All right, so
I'm always bad, but I can't help it.
So in the most incomprehensible section of this film, aka one of the best, he comes across Julie Bowen in this cafe where this restaurant where he's eating the steak.
Yeah,
and he comes up to her. She's all dressed slutty, like as slutty as they I feel kind of bad for Julie Bowen, to be honest.
Yeah, that was an embarrassing role.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that she was able to right the ship. Like, think about this couple of years.
I don't know her at all.
In 1996, she's the love interest in a fucking Adam Sandler movie. She's the female lead in Happy Gilmore.
Okay.
And then she does this movie, and I don't know. She managed to get it together because then she was in that show Ed with Tom Cavanaugh. And she was the female lead of that, and that was a good show for a few years. And then she got herself on that Modern Family. She was like the female lead on that show.
Oh, all right. Well, good for her.
So she's the richest one. She's got way more money than Julie Delpy.
Yeah, I didn't think she was bad. I actually thought she was giving her all at this really thankless, terrible role. She's good.
I know. Like, in some scenes, I couldn't even believe it. Like, that scene where she's, like, trying to whistle at somebody and, like, blood keeps coming out of her cheek. It's, like, a really bad scene and not a good-looking effect. And she is giving her... Like, she's really trying to sell it.
Yeah, she is, and before she dies in the restaurant, she's being like a goofball, and I feel like she has comedic chops. She's just given the shittiest fucking material.
It's the worst role in the entire movie, and
it's so sad.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I actually think she's one of the better performances in the movie.
And we would call it out. We always do. No one is spared. I would call it out in a second if I was like, they got some dumb fucking actress to play this. She's terrible. She's not at all.
No, it's clearly an actress who's above this, being put in this terrible wardrobe, and
then she's like subjected to like trying to like have sex on a gravestone. I mean, they're just using
his reactions to him.
The camera. It's like nothing is spared on this girl.
Yeah, everything is like from the second she meets him, he has steak blood caked all over his face, and she turns around, hears that he's American, and goes, "American?
Yeah,
let's fuck." And also, that's bullshit. You got this American girl in France. She's not looking for American dudes. She's looking to fuck French dudes.
That's true. That's what I would think.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But she's into this guy, even though he's a maniac with blood on his face. And, they go off and fuck in a fucking cemetery on Jim Morrison's grave. He gets up mid. It's presented like they're fucking, but then when they cut, they're both wearing pants.
Very strange. Yeah, they're in Père Lachaise. So they're fucking on Jim Morrison's grave. And then, so presumably, there's many, Père Lachaise is a lot of people buried there that are very famous. So, they'd pick Jim Morrison, but nearby...
Certainly, if there's anybody in that cemetery who is worthy of just getting their grave fucked all over, it's Jim Morrison.
All right. It's a strange resting place for Jim Morrison. As a fan, I will admit.
Yeah, well, life is strange.
I've wondered often if being buried in a grave in Paris is my fate or just the work of a clown. Rossini, I believe, is buried there. I could be wrong, but I think Chopin might even be buried there. I'm not sure.
All of our greatest artists. Jim Morrison.
I say that as a big Doors fan. I love Jim Morrison. He does not belong in that cemetery, man. Come on now. Not to be snobby, but really.
All right, so there's an interesting moment where he runs off because he feels himself turning into a werewolf, and she starts like monologuing to herself, like, why can't I find one decent guy to fuck? They're always running out on me, being weird, turning into werewolves. And
that dialogue too. It's like, what are these 12 writers thinking when they put their 12 domes together? Let's just write this girl as a literal fuck bunny.
Yeah, and the Broccolis read that scene and they were like, let's give him Bond.
Wait a second. Oh, yeah. Well, they probably know how to write a Bond girl. Yeah. Oh, my.
So, he turns into a werewolf. We get to see that. It's not very good looking. What? Yeah, in that fountain, right. And he pops out and attacks her and kills her. The next day he wakes up. He's in Delpy's house, right? This was the boob scene, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
It reminded me a lot of the Calvin Klein's. It says it on your boxers or whatever in Back to the Future. The scene where he wakes up and his mom's there. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
I thought you were going to say another movie where the guy is holding the actress's breasts exactly like that to cover them, but they're talking, and it's like another comedic.
You talking about that Janet Jackson Rolling Stone cover?
No, but good call. No, what am I thinking of? It's another scene where it's supposed to be comedic, and he's holding her breasts, and it's awkward for both of them, but it's the only thing.
I know. There's a scene in Knocked Up where an earthquake happens, and they're outside, and it's Martin Starr, I think, or somebody, or Jonah Hill holding his girlfriend's boobs, and someone goes to shake his hand, and he takes his hand off of a boob.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, classic stuff. All right. What happens next? Just a bunch. It gets chaotic after this.
That's when it gets really dumb. The cops come into it. They go to this church where there's this.
And Vince Villouf and Julie Bowen start showing up as Griffin Dunn wandering ghosts.
Yeah, Vince gets killed. Now it's coming back to me. Vince gets killed by Julie Delpy because he says to Tom Everett Scott, you can't kill yourself yet. You got to kill her first. And the Julie Bowen's like, I don't give a shit. I need him to kill himself because he killed me. So
Oh, yeah. I like the scene where she tries to lure him in front of a bus.
Yeah. Right. I remember that. Now, so if that's the case, how did no, it wasn't Julie Delpy who bit Brad because he disintegrates and goes to heaven presumably at one point, and Julie Delpy lives. So I think
Claude bit Brad.
Yeah, I guess he didn't know.
Claude had Brad. Wait, Brad didn't die. Oh no, Brad's Vince Villouf. He did die. The other one survives.
I think Brad's mistaken. He thinks it was Julie Delpy because that's why he says to Tom Everett Scott, "You know what that means? You're gonna have to kill her." And then, he doesn't have to.
I think Claude tries to maybe frame Julie Delpy.
Maybe so. Get her out of the way.
It's a confused film, but boy, oh boy, do I enjoy it. Yeah, it all comes together in the subway. That's a kind of a cool sequence. I like that shit. And
Yes. Werewolf on a subway very often.
yeah, sure. And yeah, and then they win. The good guys win. All right.
Then they jump off the Statue of Liberty
Well-
with Chris as the best man.
Yeah, you see, it says several full moons later.
It is very
That's
cute.
good. And yeah, it's Delpy and Everett Scott, and they're getting married. And then they drop the ring. Remember, it's so great. They drop the ring, and it goes falling off the side of the Statue of Liberty, and then they both jump off the end. Turns out they were on the Statue of Liberty all along. We find that out. They're bungee jumping off. And it's to get adrenaline because it staves off the werewolfism. What a great ending. Wraps this baby up beautifully in a bow. Classic film. What do you give it?
In my heart, this is a 1.
Fuck off. It's not a 1.
I've seen so much worse. It's just a disaster in so many places, but you know, it has a good heart, and it tries. I think it really kind of sucks after like really the first 30-40 minutes.
No, I think it sucks after the first hour. But I think the first hour is fun and quirky and weird, and it makes me laugh. And the cast is strange, and Julie Delpy's naked, and it's great.
I'm giving it a low 2.
A low 2.
It's a 2. Yeah, it's a star movie.
I'm giving it a 3.
No more than a 3, huh?
It's just a 3, but what a great 3 it is.
Okay, all right.
Who's your MVP?
Delpy.
Okay, yeah. I'm just gonna go straight up Tom Everett Scott. He carries this baby.
He was my other choice. Yeah.
And LVP?
Well, you got me to that one because I was blank, and then I was going to put the writer. So it will be Claude. He just kind of he's nothing. He kind of.
I'm also gonna go with Claude, but I will say, no, forget it. I like all three of the dudes. Claude's the LVP.
I mean, they're stupid meatheads, but they actually deliver their lines okay, and they're not given very good dialogue to say in the first place. They do all right.
There has to be some part of something called the Daredevil Tour of Europe. Of course they'd be douchebags.
Right, exactly. What are you going to do?
All right, so what a fine film. I rank them 1, 2.
Strangely, I do too.